Guys, look, non-binary character, played by non-binary human.
Does that mean you don't identify as a girl or a boy?
Well, it's a bit more complicated than that.
Hi, I'm Kai. I play Ripley on Hollyoaks, and I'm here to talk to you about non-binary identity. So for those people that don't know what non-binary means, non-binary is an umbrella term for people that identify outside of the male-female binary of gender. So it can be anyone who feels that they're in between or anyone who feels that they sit outside of that spectrum. So the analogy I use for just explaining my personal experience of non-binary identity to other people is I like to say that I sit within the gender spectrum in a boat. Imagine a lake that's got two banks. One is masculinity and one is femininity. I got on my little boat in the feminine bank and then never docked again. Just stayed on my boat. I love the water. I can't help it. I think that a lot of non-binary people can probably relate to that analogy. If you want to come out to your parents, great analogy to use. Just saying. Playing Ripley is like free therapy for me, honestly. We're really able to show a different narrative than what we mostly see in queer media and trans media, is the fact that we are seeing a storyline where people aren't just going, oh, what is this? I just can't wait for everyone to see the coming out. I'm just like, guys, it's so good. It's such good representation. I just want everyone to see it. It's the kind of representation I've never seen on TV really before.
What's the best way for a boy to tell a girl that he loves her?
You're probably asking the wrong person.
Why do you say that?
Well, it's not that straightforward for me.
What, like, as in you're not straight?
That's, not what I meant.
The question's purely hypothetical anyway.
Well, basically I identify as non-binary.
You're non-binary? That's interesting. Does that mean you don't identify as a girl or a boy?
Well, it's a bit more complicated than that. I guess my experience isn't that black and white. It's more shades of grey.
Well, I don't see why that means you can't help us out. Bit selfish if you ask me.
Honestly, I think so many non-binary people really appreciate that that's the way it's approached, because imagine if you got to come out like that all the time. How great would that be? And if we put that on TV, maybe it might start being like that all the time. I'm really hoping that it can possibly change the way for some people how they come out in a casual sense in the everyday. I really enjoy playing the character, and it's wonderful to have that positive representation for other non-binary people because we never see it. And it is so beautiful to be able to step into the shoes of Ripley and be able to be like, guys, look, non-binary character, played by non-binary human. In terms of language, in terms of people's pronouns, I think that we have to think of language as our first point of contact with another person. It's the one thing that we have, especially at the moment where we don't really have physical touch. Language is the one thing that we have to show how much we respect a person and how much we understand a person. And so using someone's correct pronouns, for instance, people using they, them for me, for one, offers me some great validation in my own identity, but also shows me that you respect me. You have respect for who I am and the individual that I choose to present to you. You have to think about language that way. If it's the one thing that you've got to give to someone, at the end of the day, it's good manners to show people respect on first meeting, on second meeting, just in general. Just show your fellow human being respect, and that should apply to the language you use with them, which means the pronouns are important, guys. Yeah, if I could give any piece of advice to someone who is coming to grips with someone's new pronouns, or someone you've recently met who uses pronouns maybe you're not used to using, I think your best bet is do your best to use their pronouns, but at the end of the day, you're a human, you're going to make mistakes. So just apologize, correct yourself, move on. Hey, if you notice someone uses the wrong pronouns for someone you know, just correct them, move on. It's really surprisingly easy to get to grips with someone's pronouns, but I think it can be a really scary thing for people. People like really are like, a lot of the time people are just scared of getting it wrong. People are scared of offending people, and I think the best thing you can do in order to not do that is to try your best, and if you don't succeed, try again. In the same way, it's like, oh no, I can't quite get these pronouns for this person. Let me make sure when I'm not around them, I'm referring to them as those pronouns, and if I do it wrong, let me do it like 3 more times to make sure I get it right. Just putting that little bit of extra effort in could never hurt. So I'd say probably like around 14 was when I started thinking about it, and I think once I turned 18 and was starting to spend a lot more time around the rest of the LGBT community, I found a lot of solace in being able to basically present and identify however I wanted to. And that kind of brought me to a sense of, oh, I don't have to conform to the gender that a doctor told me I had to be. I can do what I want. And I think that that's made me so much happier as a person as well. It's just made me so much more comfortable in being myself. That was kind of my journey towards it. And I think it's funny because now I feel so much more connected to my body than I ever have felt before. I think there was a huge disconnect when I was still identifying as a cis woman. Now that I fully identify as non-binary, really like suddenly I'm like, oh, my body makes sense to me. And before I think it was always like, oh, my body doesn't fit what it should be. Now I don't have to fit. Now there is no box. The box disappeared. It's great.